Along every American highway, behind chain-link fences and rolling steel doors, sits an industry most people never think about. Self-storage is a business built on metal boxes, gravel lots, and the simple human tendency to accumulate more than we can hold. And yet, this overlooked corner of real estate generates more than $50 billion in annual revenue in the United States alone. There are over 50,000 storage facilities nationwide, more locations than McDonald's, Starbucks, and Subway combined. Roughly 1 in 10 American households rents a unit, paying month after month for space to hold furniture, boxes, and belongings they may never touch again. To the casual observer, these are just rows of orange and blue doors. To investors, they are one of the most resilient asset classes ever built. During the 2008 financial crisis, when office towers and shopping malls collapsed in value, storage kept paying. When the 2020 pandemic froze the economy, occupancy climbed. The reason is structural. Storage demand rises during the 4 Ds that never stop happening: death, divorce, dislocation, and downsizing. Life's disruptions fill the boxes, and disruption never goes out of style. What makes this asset class extraordinary is the arithmetic. A storage facility costs a fraction of an apartment complex to build, employs almost no one, and collects rent from hundreds of tenants who rarely negotiate and rarely leave. The margins are staggering. Publicly traded storage giants like Public Storage and Extra Space Storage operate at profit margins that rival software companies, not landlords. Public Storage alone commands a market value larger than many airlines and hotel chains. Wall Street noticed decades ago. Real estate investment trusts poured billions into consolidating the sector, turning scattered mom-and-pop lots into national empires. The metal box became a premium financial instrument. Behind the humble aesthetic lies a machine engineered for cash flow, one that operates quietly, automatically, and with almost no resistance from the people who pay into it. But before any of that revenue arrives, before the first door rolls up, an operator must make the single most important decision in the entire business. It all begins with the dirt beneath the boxes. Every storage empire starts with a parcel of land, and the choice of that parcel decides whether the business thrives or bleeds. Operators live by a single rule borrowed from all of real estate. Location determines everything, but storage inverts the usual logic. Where a retailer wants prime frontage and heavy foot traffic, a storage developer wants cheaper ground that still sits within reach of dense population. The ideal site is visible from a highway, tucked near growing suburbs, and priced far below what a shopping center or apartment builder would pay. Developers study a 3-mile radius around any potential site. Inside that circle, they count rooftops. A strong location holds at least 50,000 people within those 3 miles, with household incomes and population growth trending upward. They measure existing square footage of storage per capita. The national average hovers around 7 to 8 square feet per person. If a market already exceeds 10, it may be saturated and rents will stall. If it sits below 5 in a growing area, demand outpaces supply and rents climb. Renters, studies show, rarely drive more than 3 to 5 miles to store their belongings, so the boundaries of the market are precise and unforgiving. Then comes zoning, the invisible gatekeeper. Many cities resist storage facilities because they generate few jobs and little sales tax revenue compared to a retail plaza. Some municipalities have banned new construction outright in commercial corridors. This friction becomes an advantage for those already inside. Every rejected permit protects existing operators from new competition, creating a moat around their occupancy and their pricing power. Developers hunt for parcels near new housing developments, apartment clusters that lack basements, and neighborhoods full of transient renters. They target the edges of suburban sprawl, where families outgrow their homes but cannot yet afford larger ones. Demographics dictate profitability with mathematical certainty. The more people crammed into small homes near a well-placed lot, the fuller the boxes. Once the dirt is secured and the permits granted, the developer faces the next question. What exactly do you put on that land, And why is it so remarkably cheap to build? Compared to nearly every other form of commercial real estate, storage is astonishingly cheap to construct. A hotel requires plumbing in every room, elevators, kitchens, and expensive interior finishes. An apartment complex demands bathrooms, wiring, appliances, and fire systems for every unit. A storage facility requires none of that. At its simplest, it is a steel frame, a concrete slab, corrugated metal walls, and rows of roll-up doors. The most basic form is the single-story drive-up facility. Tenants pull a vehicle directly to their unit, lift a door, and unload. These structures cost as little as $25 to $45 per square foot to build, a fraction of the $200 or more per square foot demanded by apartments or medical offices. The materials are prefabricated, shipped flat, and bolted together in months rather than years. A modest facility can rise on raw land in under a year, sometimes in as little as 6 to 9 months. At the higher end sits the climate-controlled, multi-story facility, common in dense cities where land is scarce and expensive. These buildings add heating, air conditioning, elevators, and enclosed hallways, pushing construction costs towards $65 to $90 per square foot. But they command premium rents. A climate-controlled unit can charge 50% to double the price of an equivalent drive-up space, because customers believe their possessions deserve protection from heat, humidity, and freezing. Interior space is divided cheaply. Sheet metal partitions and simple doors carve a large shell into dozens or hundreds of rentable units. A 10 by 10 room, 100 square feet, might rent for well over $100 per month in a strong market. Multiply that by hundreds of units, and a single building generates rent that rivals a far more expensive property. There are no tenant improvements, no custom build-outs, no costly turnover between renters. When a tenant leaves, an operator sweeps the concrete, and the unit is ready again in minutes. Low build cost, minimal maintenance, and rapid lease-up create extraordinary returns on invested capital. But the true genius of the model is not the building. It is how few humans it takes to run one. Walk onto a modern storage lot after hours, and you may find no one there at all. The gate is closed, the office is dark, yet the business is fully operational. This is the quiet miracle of the model, a facility that never sleeps and barely needs to be staffed. Automation runs the perimeter. A keypad at the entrance accepts a tenant's personal code, logs the exact time of entry, and rolls the gate open. The same code closes it. Every access is recorded, time-stamped, and tied to a specific unit. If a tenant falls behind on rent, the software can disable their code remotely, locking them out without a single confrontation. Security cameras stream footage to the cloud, monitored from a central office that may sit hundreds of miles away. Individual unit alarms trigger if a door opens without a matching gate entry. The entire security apparatus operates with almost no human presence on site. Management has migrated online. Tenants find a unit, sign the lease, and pay through a website or an app, often without ever speaking to a person. Automatic credit card billing pulls rent on the first of every month. Digital reminders chase late payments. Some newer facilities are fully unmanned, running on smartphone-controlled access and remote call centers that handle questions by phone and video. The result is a labor structure unlike almost any other real estate. A single manager, sometimes part-time, can oversee a facility with 500 units. In the roll-up model, one regional manager may supervise a dozen sites, driving between them or monitoring them entirely from a screen. Payroll, the largest expense in most businesses, becomes a rounding error. Operating expenses typically consume only 35 to 40% of revenue, leaving margins that landlords in other sectors can only envy. There are no toilets to fix at midnight, no leaking pipes inside occupied apartments, no tenant crises demanding a live body. The concrete sits, the doors stay shut, and the billing software runs without rest. But a facility, no matter how efficient, only makes money when the boxes are full. And filling them is a game with rules all its own. A storage facility is only as profitable as the percentage of its units that are paying. This single number, occupancy, governs the entire business, and operators track it obsessively. Two figures matter most: physical occupancy, the share of units filled with tenants, belongings, and economic occupancy, the share of potential rent actually being collected. A facility can be 90% physically full, but far lower economically if too many units sit on discounted move-in rates. Every new facility begins empty, and the climb to profitability is a slow, deliberate process called lease-up. A newly built site might absorb 3 to 5% of its units each month, taking 2 to 3 years to reach a stabilized occupancy of 85 to 90%. During this stretch, operators lure tenants with aggressive promotions: $1 for the first month, half off for 3 months, no administrative fee. These teaser rates fill the boxes fast, planting tenants who will pay far more later. The break-even point usually arrives somewhere between 60 and 70% occupancy. Below that line, the facility loses money against its debt and expenses. Above it, each additional rented unit is almost pure profit, because the building, the gate, and the loan manager cost the same whether the units are half full or nearly full. That operating leverage is why the final push toward 90% is where fortunes are made. But the deepest secret of the occupancy game is the sticky tenant. People move belongings into storage during a stressful transition and then simply forget about them. Studies show the average storage tenant stays far longer than they intended. What began as a 3-month solution during a move stretches into 2 years, 5 years, sometimes a decade. Retrieving and hauling everything away is inconvenient, and the monthly charge feels small enough to ignore. Inertia becomes the operator's most reliable employee. Each sticky tenant is an annuity, quietly paying month after month with no marketing cost and no negotiation. Once the boxes are full of people who will not leave, the operator holds a rare and powerful advantage. They can begin to raise the rent, gently, repeatedly, and with almost no resistance at all. The real profit engine of self-storage isn't the price on the sign. It's the price you never see coming. Walk into any facility and the introductory rate might read $49 a month for a 10 by 10 unit. That number is bait. It exists to fill the building. What happens next is where operators separate themselves from ordinary landlords. The tool is called ECRI, Existing Customer Rate Increase. It is a software-driven pricing system, refined by companies like Public Storage and Extra Space, that identifies the exact moment a tenant becomes vulnerable to a rent hike. Typically, the first increase arrives 3 to 6 months after move-in. That $49 unit quietly climbs to $65, then $80, then $95 over the following year. The percentage jumps often run 8 to 15% per notice, sometimes more. Why does this work when apartment tenants would revolt? The answer is inertia, and operators have measured it precisely. Consider the physics of moving stored goods. A tenant would need to rent a truck, recruit help, take a Saturday off, and locate a competitor whose introductory rate might be identical to their old one before the increases begin. The cost of leaving frequently exceeds the annoyance of staying. Algorithms exploit this exact calculation. Pricing engines model the probability that a given customer will vacate versus absorb the increase, then set the rent at the highest point the tenant will tolerate without walking. A household storing a deceased parent's furniture, a business archiving files, a family between homes, each becomes what the industry privately calls a sticky tenant, someone whose emotional or logistical friction makes them nearly immune to price. The letters arrive with corporate calm. Due to rising operational costs, your monthly rate will adjust. Few tenants read the fine print they signed, which authorized these changes from day one. The result is a revenue curve that rises steadily on customers who never renegotiate. Occupancy stays flat. Income climbs anyway, but base rent, even inflated, is only the first layer of extraction. The most profitable numbers on the balance sheet aren't rent at all. They hide inside the fees, the insurance, and the auctions waiting for anyone who falls behind. If rent is the visible revenue, the ancillary income is the hidden fortune. Start with late fees. Miss your payment by 5 days, and a $20 charge appears. Miss it again, and a second fee stacks on top. For a facility with 500 units, even a small delinquency rate generates thousands of dollars monthly in penalties that cost the operator nothing to produce. These fees are pure margin, disconnected from any real expense. Next comes tenant insurance, one of the industry's quietest gold mines. When you rent a unit, you're often required to carry coverage. The facility offers a convenient policy, perhaps $12 a month for $2,000 of protection. What tenants rarely learn is that the operator frequently keeps a substantial cut of that premium, sometimes 50% or more, through a captive insurance arrangement or a commission with providers like Bader or SafeStore. Multiply $12 across hundreds of units, and insurance alone can rival the profit from rent. Then the administrative charges, a $29 move-in fee, a lock purchase, a processing charge. Each is small, each is defensible, and together they compound. But the sharpest instrument is the lien. When a tenant stops paying, usually after 60 to 90 days, state law grants the operator a possessory lien on everything inside the unit. After legally required notices and advertising, the facility auctions the contents. Platforms like Storage Treasures broadcast these sales online, draw in bidders who gamble on locked doors. The operator collects the winning bid, applies it to the unpaid balance, and frequently pockets the surplus where state law allows. The unit is then empty, cleaned, and re-rented within days, often at a higher introductory rate than the defaulted tenant ever paid. In this system, even failure is profitable. A tenant who stops paying doesn't cost the business. They liquidate their own belongings to cover the debt and free the box for the next customer. Late fees, insurance markups, admin charges, and auctions routinely deliver 20 to 30% of total facility revenue. One well-run building is a money machine. But the true ambition was never a single facility. It was to own hundreds of them. For decades, most American self-storage was owned by mom-and-pop operators. A retired couple who built 40 units behind a gas station, a local investor with a single lot near the interstate. They ran on paper ledgers, charged below-market rents, and rarely raised prices. To the giants of the industry, these small facilities look like undervalued treasure. The strategy is called the roll-up, and it built the modern empire. National operators and REITs, Public Storage, Extra Space, CubeSmart, Life Storage, acquire independent facilities one by one, then apply their systems overnight. The moment a small facility joins a national brand, ECRI pricing switches on, tenant insurance gets sold, late fees get enforced, and the introductory rates get optimized. A property generating $200,000 a year under a retiree might produce $350,000 under corporate management without a single new unit built. The math is irresistible. The vehicle for scale is the REIT, the Real Estate Investment Trust, which lets public investors pour capital into storage while collecting steady dividends. These trusts trade on the New York Stock Exchange, with market values in the tens of billions. Public storage alone controls thousands of properties. For facilities that don't sell, operators offer third-party management. The local owner keeps the deed, but the national brand runs the software, the call center, the pricing, and takes a management fee plus a share of revenue. Either way, the empire absorbs the territory. Consolidation also unlocks new product lines. Vast paved lots absorb RV, boat, and vehicle storage, demand that surged as Americans bought recreational vehicles by the millions. A single boat space can rent for hundreds of dollars monthly with almost no construction costs. Climate-controlled wine storage, business inventory, document archiving. Each niche layers more recurring revenue onto the same dirt. Piece by piece, facility by facility, the fragmented industry becomes a handful of dominant brands. The corner lot behind the gas station now shares a logo with a building 2,000 miles away, running identical algorithms. What began as a single row of metal boxes has become something far larger, a nationwide machine built on the quietest business model in real estate. Step back, and the full architecture comes into view. A self-storage empire is not built on spectacular assets. There are no luxury lobbies, no anchor tenants, no glamorous skyline addresses. There is only cheap dirt near a highway, corrugated metal, a keypad, and a pricing algorithm that never sleeps. Yet from these humble parts rises one of the most efficient wealth machines in American real estate. Consider the balance of the model. Construction costs run a fraction of apartments or offices, often $25 to $45 per square foot for drive-up units. Staffing is minimal. One manager or none can oversee a facility through remote software and automated gates. Maintenance is trivial. An empty metal room requires almost nothing. And the revenue is beautifully recurring. Tenants pay month after month, absorb quiet rent increases, buy marked up insurance, incur late fees, and forfeit their belongings to auction when they fall behind. Even vacancy is temporary, because the sticky tenant rarely leaves and the lien process refills the unit fast. Layer these facilities into the hundreds, wrap them in a REIT, list them on the stock exchange, and the empire pays dividends to shareholders who may never set foot inside a single unit. The industry now spans billions of square feet and tens of billions in market value, a sector that expanded through recessions, through housing crashes, through pandemics, because Americans always accumulate more than their homes can hold. Every downsizing, every death, every divorce, every move feeds the demand. And here is the paradox at the center of it all. The operators are not selling furniture, boxes, or memories. They are not even truly selling metal buildings. They are renting the void inside them, the cubic feet of nothing that a customer will pay for month after month, year after year, often long past the point where the stored goods are worth the rent. The most profitable real estate in America is the room you never enter, holding things you may never need, billed to you forever. The empire runs on this single, elegant truth, the thesis beneath every keypad and every quiet rate increase. Empty space is the product.